This video is going to be my Beatles CD collection. I actually listen to CDs a little more than I do vinyl just because they're a little easier to play. Just pop them out of the jewel case, stick them in the CD player, and then you can jump around for the different tracks and whatnot. So I don't have as many Beatles CDs as I do records, but I do have a pretty extensive Beatles CD collection, which I am happy to share with you now. First CD is the early tapes of the Beatles, which is the Tony Sheridan tapes. Beatles Rockin' at the Star Club. Now I have all the original CDs that I bought of the Beatles when they came out in 1987. I kept them even after the 2009 remasters. Some people got rid of theirs, but I always like to keep the originals, if nothing more than for nostalgic value. This is Please Please Me. And I've always preferred jewel cases to the digipacks anyway. I feel like they're a little sturdier and keep the artwork a little more protected, but anymore, if I'm going to listen to a CD, it's going to be the 2009 remasters, but I still keep these just for nostalgia purposes. Hard Day's Night. And I was never a big fan of what they did with the artwork on these CDs because I felt like it was a real half-assed job that they did on it. They could have done so much better with it, but they just threw the pictures in the booklet without any real care. They didn't try to preserve the actual back covers. This is, and for this one they even used the American cover for Rubber Soul instead of the British cover, even though this is the British track lineup. Revolver. Sgt. Pepper was the first one where it seems like they actually put some care and attention into it. There's actual liner notes, there's extra pictures, and kind of bonus stuff that you didn't find in the other CDs. Even with Magical Mystery Tour, the back cover, they cut it halfway off so they could put the track line up here. There's probably a better way to do it, but that's what we got. The White Album, this one is in the fat box. Yellow Submarine. Abbey Road, again, they had to crop the back picture. They didn't even print the entire full picture in the booklet. This is all we got in the entire CD. And kind of even more ridiculous, for Let It Be, they kept the pictures on the back, which I can appreciate. However, the American version had the gatefold. Maybe the British did anyway. I don't have the British version, but I know the original American version had a gatefold with extra pictures, and they could have put that inside the booklet, which I thought would have made sense, but instead, someone with great imagination decided that this should be what is inside the booklet. Basically, you took the front cover and you just put a white background around it. That shows the amount of imagination that was put into the artwork on these CDs. This is Past Masters Volume 1. Past Masters Volume 2. The Red Album. And the blue album, which actually has a lighter blue tint than the original vinyl release. And the picture is a lot clearer here than the picture that was on the vinyl. Beatles at the BBC. And this was the single that they released from the BBC double album. It's got Baby It's You, I'll Follow the Sun, Devil in Her Heart, and Boys are the bonus tracks on there. It's Anthology 1. Anthology 2. Anthology 3. And then this was the first single from the Anthology collections. This was released the same time as the first Anthology. It's Free as a Bird. And I know it's a controversial thing to say, but I think Free as a Bird sounds ridiculous. As much as I can appreciate the care that Jeff Lynne put in it and the fact that it has the other Beatles on it, I feel like John Lennon's vocals sound terrible. I know I'm probably in the minority on that, but even worse, I hate to say it because it's the Beatles, but Real Love, I think, sounds awful. You can even hear the tape hiss fade in and out when his vocal part comes in. I feel like they could have gotten, and I understand it was all they had to work with, but I can barely listen to those tracks anymore just because it sounds what it is John Lennon from the grave, a tape that was recorded over 20 years ago. But this is the Real Love single, which was released concurrent with the Anthology 2 collection. This has Babies in Black, Yellow Submarine, a different version, and Here, There, and Everywhere, kind of a demo version mixed in with the final version. This is Let It Be Naked with the Fly on the Wall bonus disc. So the Love compilation. And now these are the 2009 CDs in the digipacks. And as you'll notice, the artwork is much better, a lot more thought and care put into the packaging of these. A Hard Day's Night. Beatles for Sale. Help. And one of the few albums that actually retains the back cover images on the back cover itself is Help. I think Rubber Soul and Revolver do also, but for the early CDs, most of them just use alternate pictures in the track listing. This is Revolver. Sgt. Pepper. I should say these are the stereo. I have the mono box set, but these are the stereo releases. This is the 2017 remix with the bonus disc of outtakes. Magical Mystery Tour. And the Beatles, also known as the White Album, with the different black and white headshots of the Beatles. And this is the 2018 remaster with the Escher demos. Yellow Submarine. Abbey Road. And isn't this so much better than what we got here. And then the 2019 remaster with extra tracks. Let It Be. And the Past Master collections, which were both included on a double CD set rather than two separate CDs. This is the Yellow Submarine soundtrack. This is On Air, the second BBC collection. This is the original 1 CD on the jewel case. And then a few years ago, I don't remember what year exactly, they came out with this, which includes the first disc is the original 1 album, and then the second disc is a DVD with their videos on it. Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl. The Beatles Christmas album. And I just got this year. I don't know how long this has been around, but this is called The Beatles Abbey Road and Beyond, and it's a 6 CD set. The first CD is the complete Decca audition tapes. Then the disc 4 are the Abbey Road tapes, which are basically outtakes from the early years from 1963 to 1965. There's about 15 different outtakes. The Lost BBC Tapes and Beyond, which is a tape of BBC recordings. There's the disc 4 is New York, Miami, and Philadelphia concerts that they gave. Disc 5 is Paris and Blackpool, 2 concerts that they gave in 1965. And then disc 6 is Australia and Japan concerts. And this was issued on CPLC. I think the story with this is that these recordings, although they were previously available on bootlegs, they were able to get a semi-commercial or a semi-official commercial release because the copyright or something expires after a certain number of years, and so now they're available for other companies to swoop in and release them on their own different labels. But this is actually a great compilation. This is The Beatles as Nature Intended, which is the original, well, not the original, but it was the Glenn Johns the Glenn Johns Let It Be album as it was originally compiled, and then the complete rooftop concert. And that is a bootleg. This is an interview disc on this. It was originally the Psychedelic Records when it was on vinyl. This is One Way Records. And it's just interviews from 1965, right around the time of the Help film. A bunch of different interviews, which is interesting from a historical perspective. This is the Beatles Tapes 2, Early Beatlemania, more interviews from 1964, around the time that they came to America, early 1964. This is the Beatle tapes, which are interviews with the Beatles from 1969, 70, and 71, I believe. So the 1969 was right after Abbey Road was released, so they talk about Abbey Road, and then the 71 interviews, they're talking about the breakup and what led to the breakup. It's individual interviews with all the Beatles. This is the Beatles at the Beeb, Volume 11, and it has the Top Gear broadcast from July 16th, 1964, and then From Me to You, the August 3rd, 1964 broadcast. I don't know how many volumes there are of that, but that's the only one that I have. This is Ultra Rare Tracks, Volume 5, which most of this has been released on the Anthology in one form or another, but there are some different things. There's the Obla Di Obla Da song that segues right into Christmas Time Is Here Again. It's got the full Christmas Time Is Here Again song. It's got a version of Revolution, I Me Mine, Take One of Strawberry Fields Forever, One After 909, the 1964 recordings of that. It's got the Magical Mystery Tour with, that was the one that was used in the movie with the talking in the middle of the instrumental break. This came out along with the Anthology 1, if you bought it, I believe, at Best Buy. This is Rare Photos and Interviews CD 1. It's just different interviews with the Beatles. This is Rare Photos and Interview CD Volume 2, which came out when the Anthology 2 disc was released. And then this is the Rare Photos and Interview CD Volume 3, which came out with the Anthology Volume 3. This is the Beatles Transmissions, 1964 to 1965. These are BBC takes, some concert tracks, but a lot of songs on here. 2 discs on this collection, and a lot of tracks that had never before been released. And I also have the Beatles, the US albums on CD, which I'm sure you've seen videos of before. And then the Beatles in mono. And the Beatles, the Capitol albums, Volume 1 and Volume 2, which have the original, Capitol stereo mixes with all the reverb and the fake stereo and exactly how they sounded on the original pressings of the Capitol albums. This one has Meet the Beatles, Beatles' second album, Something New, and Beatles 65. And this one has early Beatles, Beatles 6, the Help soundtrack with the instrumentals, and the American Rubber Soul. I was hoping they were going to come out with a third version, a third volume, which would have had Yesterday and Today and Revolver and the Hey Jude album, and I don't know what they would have put on the fourth one, but instead, many years later, they released the US album box set, although it didn't have the original Capitol remixes on that. So that is my Beatles CD collection, and it's not as extensive as some others, but that's what I have. Hope you enjoy, and I would appreciate any comments you have.